What we have to talk about now, though, is something that is officially adult. Something that isn't fun. Something that is incredibly disturbing. And it's a story that we've talked about just a little bit. I actually spoke about it a little bit more, filling in for Jim Rome several months ago, when I was first made aware of the story. And it's really something else. Steubenville, Ohio. You might have heard that name come up in the last day or two because it is definitely now in the news. Steubenville, Ohio is a very small, sleepy Ohio town in the northwestern corner of Ohio that isn't too far away from Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is where I spent several summers when I was in college. My parents lived in Fort Wayne. Steubenville was the first town over the state line. In Indiana, there are blue laws still, which means you cannot buy alcohol on a Sunday. You'll find that throughout the country in some places. You can't buy alcohol on a Sunday in the state of Indiana. But if you're willing to drive 20 miles and cross the border into Steubenville, Ohio, you can buy a case of beer there and drive back. And I can't even tell you how often that happened. It did happen. It's happening this weekend. It happened last weekend. It's going to happen next weekend. Steubenville, Ohio is famous for two things. The fact that people from Indiana drive to it on Sundays to buy beer, and its high school football team. Steubenville, Ohio, a small town of 18,000, has won 9 state titles in football in Ohio. 9 state titles to Steubenville means as much as gay rights means in San Francisco. It is part of the town's identity. It is who they are. It is what defines them. And it's a source of pride, one of the last few remaining sources of pride in this now industrially ridden, Rust Belt, dying Midwestern town. All they've got is a football team. A high school football team. What has been uncovered over the last year or so is a story of entitlement, alcohol, sex, rape, social media, and terrible, terrible decisions being made by adults. 2 kids, 16 and 17 years old, were out at a party one night where a girl became so intoxicated that they decided to have a little fun with her. And by having a little fun with her, they took it way, way too far. As a matter of fact, what was a little fun turned into nothing short of full-fledged rape and sexual assault. The girl was completely unconscious. She had drunk herself to sleep. And you basically had 16 and 17-year-old 2 guys start doing things to her that you're just not allowed to do. I won't get into the details of what they actually did, but let's just say this girl was, again, I don't know who's got a kid in their car right now. I don't want to get too graphic here. But the girl was penetrated several different ways while she was unconscious by underage high school kids who then turned her into a human toilet and peed on her as she laid unconscious in a street. But that's not enough. What really took this case to the next level, what really took this topic to the next level, is that all of this information by prosecutors was pieced together through social media. Kids who were there witnessing what happened started taking pictures of this happening, started tweeting them, started putting them on social media, started putting pictures of this passed-out girl who had just been raped on their Facebook pages. Some of the callous things that were being said by a few high school kids makes you want to take a machete out and just start lopping people's heads off. Like, we really are raising a generation that lacks any sensitivity at all. You know, I'm not a father, but I can tell you right now, the son I don't have will never rape an unconscious girl. Ever. We're going to raise a better brand of kid like that in my household. The brand of children being raised in Steubenville, Ohio, leaves an awful lot to be desired. The fact not one kid listened to his instinct. The fact not one kid who may happen to have a younger sister who identified with the terrible position that the girl who was face down in a ditch getting raped. The fact that not one person came to her defense because they were too busy tweeting things like, I guess the song for tonight would be Rape Me by Nirvana. That was one of the pieces of evidence used against them. The fact that not one hero was found in a town of football heroes really says something. The sadness, though, really doesn't start materializing to anger. Because here's the thing. You know what? Underage kids drinking is going to equal something bad is going to happen. It's just the level of bad that in this case, in this instance, is so shocking. But underage kids drinking without experience doing that, it's going to lead to bad decisions being made. And even in the worst instances, you can still say, well, it was an alcohol-fueled decision made by kids who aren't in position to make big decisions because they're all just dumb kids. I'm not trying to justify or explain away anything that they did. But in the situation where the girl was actually assaulted, there wasn't an adult to be found. Where there are adults to be found is on the football team's coaching staff. Where there are adults to be found, it's in the Steubenville Police Department. Where there are adults to be found, it's in high school administrations. They let that girl be raped after the fact. If accomplices after the fact are a part of crime, what some of the decisions that these adults made led to were literally, they wanted this thing swept under the rug. They did not want this going public because you know what they needed to do? They needed to win another state title, and they had the team to do it. You had football coaches threatening police investigators. You had football coaches threatening reporters. To show you what a pack mentality it is in a small, sleepy town where football's really the only thing they've got, just today, 2 teenage girls were arrested for harassing the victim of the sexual assault. 2 girls were basically saying, you ruined these guys' lives because you participated in an investigation in your own rape. You ruined it. I mean, that is amazing. All I can tell you is that the people of Steubenville need to be put on notice the same way the good folks at Ohio State needed to be Penn State needed to be put on notice. The importance of your football program does not trump sexual assault. And there's no amount of games forfeited, no amount of careers ripped apart, no amount of prestige lost that'll ever be worth trying to cover up the sexual assault of a victim in the name of your football program. The fact that all of this would be happening somewhere in the light of what just happened at Penn State is amazing. Absolutely amazing. These two players were sentenced. They're going to be doing an awful lot of time in a juvenile detention center, and then, if not more than that, once they turn into adults. A grand jury is going to meet later in April to consider evidence gathered by investigators from dozens of interviews, including with the football program's 27 coaches. They have 27 coaches. Again, if that doesn't show you a disproportional importance with what's going on. There's 27 coaches in a town of 18,000 for one team. That's unbelievable. The story is too sordid, and the details are too many for me to explain it. But if you Google Steubenville, Ohio today and the rape case, and you read about this, it will leave you as nauseous as anything you read in the Sandusky grand jury testimony.
Damon Bruce Show continues live from downtown San Francisco on KNBR and streaming live at knbr.com.
I'm telling you, I don't know if you can find bad things about to happen any more than with the roadmap of entitled teenagers, alcohol, and social media. You put all those groups together in one room and something bad is bound to happen. And that's what happened in Steubenville, Ohio. Al in San Francisco. How you doing, Al? Welcome to the Damon Bruce Show.
As I get older, I notice society is getting increasingly sicker, and the blur between good and evil is very, very small. The group Anonymous is the one that brought that to light, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the actual conspiracy to cover it up is almost worse than the act itself.
Well, it always is. I mean, there's really no time throughout the course of human history events where the cover-up isn't as bad or is worse than the original crime. Now, when the original crime is rape, things don't get much worse than that. But to have the adults, that's the thing. You could say the rapists were at least drunk or just idiots, or, Sandusky was at least mentally ill in his derangement, where, the coaches who were threatening investigators in the following weeks, months, and years after this, they're the ones who I think are just as responsible as this happening as the people who actually did it.
It's a terrible story. I had so much else to bring today, but I'll say the more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle. And I think, believe it or not, I think the Miami Heat are going to break the great Laker team with 33 in a row and win the NBA championship.
They might do it. I was looking at their next 11 games because they'd have to go 10 to tie, 11 to win.
Right.
They do have a game at San Antonio that could trip them up. They have a game against the Chicago Bulls, but I believe that's in Miami that's going to be tough.
Right.
Everything else is an also-ran. Everyone else is a losing record. They could do it.
Heat against the Spurs in the finals. I keep telling you the Thunder are not ready yet, and they will take out the Spurs also.
I'm still sticking with the Thunder, Al. Thank you very much. We got Angelo in Oakland. What's up, Ange?
Hey, what's up, Dame? How you doing, man?
Doing well, thank you.
Hey, man, I was trying to hold out and wait for the trifecta because I know you don't like that dual call thing. But the subject you were speaking on, man, it's close to my heart because a couple people I know, have been assaulted. And like you just mentioned with Sandusky and mental illness and drunk and all that, I don't take none of that into account. We all got this little deep, dark part of us. And the one inside of me is reserved to get my hands on people that do stuff like that to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a sore subject for me. And I don't have any kind of empathy or sympathy for why people do it. Be it mental illness, be it drug-related, out of their mind, whatever. You can get them all off the face of the earth as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with you. I mean, that's, to me, if at the age of 16 you don't have enough common sense. I mean, look at it this way. When I was 16, I would have never done anything like that. I was raised right.
Nothing close to that, man. Nothing close to that, the smarter the phone, the dumber the people getting. You know what I mean? And adults, as far as sports and kids on that level, that's why the kids grow up like entitlement and all that, because adults live through kids and they take it to a level.
Absolutely. You know, these kids winning titles and state titles in Ohio is part of the adults' reputation in town. So they don't want to go screwing with their own reputation by messing with their own winning percentage. And that's how girls get raped and stories get covered up in Steubenville, Ohio. It's unbelievable. Ange, we got to run, man. I'm glad you weighed in. Thank you very much.